Hello, everyone. I hope you're all good. So today I was planning to give you some introduction about econometrics and economic data. You had some information about it, but still I just want you to put everything into one package. So before doing that, I would like to receive some questions related to your preparation of the exams and your collection of data for this research, if you have. Yes, Evgenia.
Hello, Professor. I've collected data for 5 banks. Should I expand it?
Can you show me, is the data available for you now? Can you just share with me?
Yes.
Please.
Should I share my screen?
Yep, if it's not difficult.
Okay. Oh, this one.
Okay, this is Citigroup, number of the years. Okay, great. This dummy, how did you decide 010101?
I just downloaded.
You downloaded from the World Bank database, yes?
Yes.
Okay. And net interest margin you got from the financial statement from
yes, I calculated everything manually.
Okay,
so
great. Is there any data that you did you have not calculated the inflation, corruption, and political stability? Yes.
Yes, I downloaded them from databases, different databases.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
And I have
how many years?
Till 1983.
Wow. So actually there is no need to do anything, and some of the data is not available, yes, in this data missing. Okay, I can see it. Okay, it's not a big gap actually. And can you go down, scroll down? And this Goldman Sachs, they have not existed, I think, yes, in before 1993.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, leave it as it is. It's good. It's good.
Okay, thank you.
It seems that you are ready to run the regression analysis. But before doing that, we have time. It's good that you have just prepared everything. Okay. Thank you so much, Evgenia.
Thank you, Professor.
Anyone else have something to ask or to show?
Professor, I want to ask.
Yes, please.
Is it credit risk the same as NPL ratio?
Yeah, the NPL ratio, it represents the credit risk. And basically, what does the credit risk mean? It means that bad loans that could not be collected, or the probability that the bad loans will not be collected is very high. So these things as proxied as credit risk. So non-performing loans are the bad loans.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Professor, if in the annual report we'll have, for example, we have a credit risk as a percentage, so we can put it directly as an NPL, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do you have any questions, not regarding the data, but concerning your exam preparation, the exam that will be held on Wednesday during the class hour?
So how many questions there are going to be?
From at least you should expect 3 questions, 1 question from each chapter. Okay. Okay, so far we have,
Professor, sorry, can you provide like some examples of these chapters or where we can find it to prepare for exam?
for example, if we go to it, just a second, where I can just show it to you. Now coming to the text. Oops, it's corporate finance. For the chapter with working with the financial statements, okay, there is a book, which is this one. So if you study this, working financial statements, at the end of the chapter, there are the questions that could be solved for this chapter. You can work out those questions. This is for this chapter. Concerning the second chapter, which is discounting alternative, sorry, what was the, no, it's alternative investments. It's a CFA book. It's a CFA book. The example we solved in the class, you can change actually at the end of the slides, there are different examples. They are more than enough. Try to solve them and try to understand them. Here, like we have actually good here, example 1, 2, 3, 4, and here it's, as you can see, it changes. So you have more than enough examples to practice for that chapter. And it's basically related to the hedge funding, estimation of the revenues. And concerning the discounting alternative investments and whatever we sold in the class, that is actually more than enough for you to study. It's the examples are here given as well in the slides. That will be more than enough. So just practice that. So yeah, I will not ask something beyond the schedule. So just act according to the quiz. Okay, whatever you've seen in the quiz, it will be similar to it. This is what I could advise you to work on actually. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If
One
you
more
have,
question, Professor.
okay.
So which topic has higher weights?
All of them are similar. All of them are similar in weight. So there will be 3 questions, and 3 questions will be asked from each chapter. Each question will be coming from like each chapter, at least 3 questions.
And we can go back and forth, yes, as in quiz.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Professor, one more questions about project. Is it capital adequacy the same like total capital ratio in percentage?
Yeah. Capital adequacy is the total capital ratio. That's very true. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Thank you.
And I think Alman was asking about the backward going. The questions actually will be in sequential order. Okay, this is what I want you to pay attention. To solve one question, you have to solve that one and you cannot come backward. So this is what I just give you misinformation about. I said yes, but it's not. It will be in sequential order. The question will be given in a way that you cannot return to the previous question. So you have to solve, submit your answer, and move to the second or third question. Okay, if you have any questions, if not, let me just start. And Today, I'm not going to take a lot of time from you because I don't want you to put more pressure on giving the new topic. I just want to introduce and just want to put us into one simple package like what we have done so far related to data collection. And then at least you can have a good mood to study, to prepare for the exam itself. And meanwhile, if you have any question, please feel free to contact me through the WhatsApp. If I am free, I'll be able to answer. If not, then you have to wait for my answer, like at least 1 or 2 hours. Now, talking about the nature of econometrics and economic data. So first of all, what is the econometrics? Econometric is the use of statistical methods to analyze any economic data that you collect. Typically, so far, what you have been collecting the financial data for to run the regression analysis, like collecting the ratios, collecting data like GDP, corruption, political stability. They're all called economic data. So basically, econometricians, they typically analyze non-experimental data. There are some goals of the econometric analysis. First of all, the idea is to estimate the relationship between the economic variables that you have collected, that you have organized, like the relationship between the GDP and net interest margin, or relationship between the corruption and non-performing loans. You're trying to see and you're trying to test the different economic theories and hypotheses. And at the end of the day, it will give you the chance to do some forecasting regarding the economic variables that you have used. So evaluation and implementing the government and business policy is mainly based on econometrical methods, on statistical methods. So the steps in econometrical analysis are, first of all, you have to construct the economic model, which you already did it. What I mean by economic model is, for example, if you decide if you're going to use the interest rate risk and you want to test how other variables will affect the net interest margin, the interest rate risk or credit risk. So you're trying to see how the X1 or X2 or X3, X4 will be having some impact on net interest margin. This is we call actually economical model, okay? This is what you constructed. At least you have identified for your own self what model are you going to test. Like, is it net interest margin as a dependent variable or non-performing loss as dependent variable, one of them. So the economic model is mainly when the research is conducted by scholars, by any PhD or master student or any bachelor student, is most frequently skipped. So economic models can be micro and macro models. In our case, we have a model which is having a mixture nature. So which means that we have macro and we have micro variables. So macro, it means the variables that comes outside of the company, or micro means the variables that comes from inside of the company. So like bank specific, if you're doing, or the firm specific variables. As Evgeny introduced her file, Excel file, we have the ratios that she has calculated on her own self, and there are some variables, some economic variables that she collected from World Bank databases. So those variables that she collected from World Bank databases, they are mainly macro. And Evgeny, once you shared it, I just want to see for the GDP that you found it. Let's say when you were pasting the data for GDP, let's say for Citigroup or any bank, let's say bank number 1, okay? The question is that, how did you paste them? I mean, how did you put it? Like for the first bank, let's say you put for certain years. What about the second bank? Did this data repeat in the second bank?
Yes, it's the same because I observed the same years.
Okay, very good. This is what because I did not pay attention to it, I just remembered and just to confirm.
It means, Professor, I have a question. It means that we all who choose USA will have the same data on the macro models, right?
Yep,
GDP
yeah. For
and
the
etc.
micro models, it should be repeating. The macro variable should be repeating with the micro ones, like for each
Okay.
company. So if you have
Okay, got
5
it.
companies, this macro variable should be repeating 5 times.
Yeah, and just I mean that, for example, we have different industries, but we will have the same macro models. Doesn't matter, it's macro, right?
Yeah. Sure. If you're all, let's say, Evgeny is doing US, but you're doing for another industry, for bank. Let's say she was doing banking, but you're doing like mining, but the macro are the same. The macro cannot be changed.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So often using the optimizing behavior like equilibrium model and other models, like establishing the relationship between economic variables. And some examples can be given like demand equation and the price equations and so on. But in your case, it's a relationship between dependent variable and independent variable. About the dependent and independent variable, we're going to talk about them more. So we have here the economic model of the crime, okay, that has been conducted by Becker in 1968, okay. As we can see here, the hours spent in crime activities is represented in here, but in your case, it could be net interest margin or NPL, one of it, okay, when you decide it. And this is part, we call it as dependent variable, okay? So what does the dependent variable mean in here? It means that this variable depends on these variables. Like x1, x2, x3, they represent independent variable. They are independent. They're independent. Why they're independent? They do not depend from each other on each other, and they do not depend on the variable y. They are the one who explain the dependent variable. The dependent variable explained by these variables, okay? Dependent variable explained by x1, x2, x3, and x4. So these are the age. So the hours spent in criminal activities is regressed by wage of the criminal activities, wage for legal employment, other income, the probability of getting caught. If by theory, by hypothesis, if the probability of getting caught is low, what do you think, what could happen to the hours spent in criminal activities? Will it increase or decrease?
Increase.
Increase. This is hypothesis, okay? This is a theory that you're coming with related to your model. And at least you should have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different hypotheses. At least you can have more, but the minimum in this model is 7. Let's say the lower the age, what do you expect to be the hours spent in criminal activity? Do you expect it to be higher or less?
Less.
Less, because the younger the person, he will not be willing to participate in any criminal activities because his thoughts and his mind is totally out of that, we can say, schedule, like to be attracted to the criminal activities and so on. So we just develop different hypotheses, but when we test it with the real, with the secondary information, with the real numbers, then if our hypothesis matched, then we say it's matched. If it's not matched, we say it's not matched, and we just give some reason why it's not matched. Example I can give you, let's say net interest margin, okay, or NPL, non-performing loans. Let me work with this, the credit risk, and I give the corruption, okay. And I want to see what could be the relation between the non-performing loans and and corruption. What do you think? What relation we should expect in here? Between corruption or NPL? I mean,
the corruption.
The index that is given in Data World Database Bank, it's a control corruption, okay? They control it. The higher the number, the better the results. Like the less corruption it is. Like they keep it tight. So when they keep more control corruption, let's say tight, and what could be done with the non-performing loans? So how basically the corruption itself related to non-performing loans, to the bad loans? If I have let's say my brother is working in loan in a bank, in the financial institution, I went to him and asked for a loan from him. And he knows that I'm not working. He knows that I'm a bad guy. He knows that I'm just irresponsible person. And he still will give me the money, the loan, because I'm his brother. So this type of activities could be considered as corrupted activities because I'm getting the loans based on the relations. So we can expect the relationship between the corruption and the non-performing loans positive. So the more corruption will be in the system, the more bad loans will come. The higher will be the credit risk actually of the financial institution. But in here we talk about the control of corruption. So the tighter the corruption, like somebody's putting more pressure, putting more control on the corruption, increasing the control, that should reduce your non-performing loans. This is hypothesis that we can share here. And we will expect that our hypothesis will be matched. If it's not matched, it's not a big deal. We'll have to find the reason why it's not matched with the case of US, with the case of other countries, or political stability, or GDP, or inflation. So non-performing loans or the net interest margin are dependent variables, but other variables like GDP, control, the control of the corruption, inflation, and other banks, the firm-specific variables, they're all what you call it as. Guys, for those who have, I just realized that not all of you have selected the banking industry, but some of you selected the other industries. In your case, you may not have the bad loans, but you may have the allowances for doubtful accounts, like the goods and services that have been sold on a credit basis, but the money could not be returned. Or if you're using the net interest rate risk issue, then you have to deal with something else. Model of the job training and the worker productivity. Here's another model. Like, what is the effect of additional training on the work productivity? And formal economic theory not really needed to derive this equation. So this is another example of the economic model. So economic model of the criminal activity, it's a functional form, actually has to be specified, and the variables may have to be approximated by the other quantities. So this is model how it's constructed basically. Like we have crime, measure of the criminal activity, beta 0, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4, beta 4. So this is beta are all independent variables. The coefficients, these betas are called a coefficient. It shows the direction of impact on dependent variable. So how it will affect. So we can see by the model they are all having the positive impact, okay? However, when you do the econometric analysis, when you do the regression analysis, this sign could change, like to negative number, to negative. This could be minus, this could be minus, okay? So wage for the legal employment, other income, frequency of the prior arrest, frequency of conviction, average sentence length. So these are the variables that are measured as independent variable. They are trying to see how these independent variables, affect this dependent variable. So economic model for job training and the worker productivity is another one. And something else called here unobserved determinant of the wage, which means as something that can affect your wage, your dependent variable that cannot be observed, that cannot be controlled. And basically this U is representing the error term. So you never know what is the effect of it. Okay, what could be, if we say, let's say this variable and this variable and this three of the variables, 75% as R squared, it means that any changes that happens in the wage is explained by 75% by these variables, and 25% is explained by the unobserved determinant. We don't know, it could be any of the determinant. You can just find it and try to search it. So we're gonna talk about the regression. So this is what the unobserved means in here, like something that cannot be controlled, and there's other factors, there are other external factors that affect your dependent variable. Okay, economic analysis. Okay, we constructed the model. Let's say we know what would be the model. Now, as I told you before, and just give you the example, there are different kinds of economic data sets. One is cross-sectional, time series, and panel data. So whenever you are doing one of that, but we said we are dealing with panel data, or it's a called longitudinal data as well. So cross-section is a sample of the individual household, firms, cities, and states, countries, and other of the units given at a given point of time, or in a given period of time. The example is here, like wage, education, female, married, and experience, and so on. Number of the observation, like from 1 to 526, within a period of time, let's say in 2020. Okay. This is cross-section. There's another example, like different countries. Time series is observation of the variable or several variables over the time. So we are given some, let's say one country or one firm with some observation. And within some specified period of time from 1950 to 1987, let's say. And panel or longitudinal data is the same cross-section units are allowed for over the period of time. So panel data have got the cross-section and time series dimension at the same time. So panel data can be used to account for the time invariant observation, and some model to use like lagged responses. Like in here, the lagged responses, it means that the previous years as well. We can check how the current variable of the current year is affected by the previous years. So this is another type of the regression analysis, which we will not do, but we were just trying to run regression analysis, which is simple one. without any other econometrical tools used. I'm just giving you some idea what does stands for each data set type actually, which already you know. This is the example of the panel data. We have different cities, we have different observation like cross and we have different years. So in here, the causality and the notion of the ceteris and paribus. Ceteris and paribus, which means that all other things are equal, they stay the same, they don't change. So we're trying to see how does the variable y change if variable x changed, but all other relevant factors held constant, which means ceteris and paribus. So most economic questions are ceteris and paribus questions. So it is important to define which causal effect one is interested in. If you're interested in trying to see how the liquidity will affect your net interest margin and keeping other things equal or constant, this is like what you test, what you call a hypothesis testing. And it is useful to describe how that experiment would have to be designed to infer a causal effect in this specific question. So here's an example given of the causal effect of the fertilizer on the crop yield. So by how much the wood production of the soybeans increase if one increase the amount of the fertilizer applied to the ground. So implicit assumption that all other factors are that influence the crop yield, such as quality of the land, rainfall, the presence of the parasites that we are fighting it always in the agriculture. We're keeping them fixed, like non-change. They don't change. We're just keeping them fixed. It's just assumption in order to test our hypothesis. And given an experiment, like you choose several 1 acre plots of the land, randomly assign a different amount of the fertilizer to a different plots and compare the yields. So experiment works because amount of the fertilizer applied is unrelated to other factors which influence the crop of the yields. So you will do basically the same assumption, like keeping all variables constant. Okay, we assume that you are given a list of independent variables. If you want to see if one of the variable, how it affects the dependent variable, then we will assume that other variables, they do not change, only specific variable changes. And we'll see how then your dependent variable will change. So there's another example, like measuring the return to education. Yeah, I don't want to do it. It's effect of the law enforcement on the city crime level. So if city is randomly chosen and given 10 additional police officers, by how much would its crime rate fall? So alternatively, if 2 cities are the same in all respects, and except A has 10 more police, actually 10 more police than the city B, so by how much would then these 2 cities crime rates differ from each other? So randomly assigning the number of the police officers to a large number of the cities. In reality, the number of the police officer will be determined by the crime rate itself, not the crime rate determined by the number of the police, actually. And there are many examples that we can run it, like by how much will unemployment increase if the minimum wage is increased, or by how much your net interest margin will increase if your liquidity increases, or if your control corruption increases, or vice versa, if there is an opposite relationship you're expecting. And let's say we expect the inflation is affecting the, what we call your net interest margin negatively, because there's an inverse relationship basically in hypothesis, in theory. So by how much your net interest margin will increase if the inflation goes down. And at the end of the day, there's a testing of prediction of econometric theories. Economic theories are not always stated in the term of the causal effects. For example, like expectation hypothesis state that the long-term interest rate equal compounded expected short-term interest rates. So an implication that the interest rate of the 3-month T-bill should be equal to the expected interest rate of the first 3 months of the 6-month T-bills actually. And this can be tested using some econometrical methods. So we will use our economic model to see not only the relationship, but try to predict by how much it will increase. So this is over for today, for this small lecture related to data sets and what is the econometric model. If you have any questions, I will be glad to answer. If not, I'll take the attendance and I'll let you go. While taking up my attendance, you can ask the question. Oops, sorry. Hi, Dana. Lee,
I'm here.
Evgenia,
I'm here.
Almor,
Me too.
Almat,
I'm here.
Arina,
I'm here.
Saken,
I'm here.
Anwar,
I'm here.
Dinara,
I'm here.
Dana,
I'm here.
Timirlan,
I'm here, Professor.
okay, Jean, Jean, he was here.
I'm here, Professor.
Okay. Okay, if you don't have any questions, thank you so much. And if you have questions, you can stay and ask related to the preparation, related to specific questions. If not, thank you so much. I see you on Wednesday in the exam. In the exam, you have to share your video of yourself in the Zoom conference.
Thank you, Professor. Have a good day.
You
Goodbye,
too.
Professor.
Thank you, Professor. Goodbye.
Good luck in your
Thank you.
preparation.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.